So what's good content?
Here's 2 pieces of good
Just
advice.
going to show you
Number 1,
something
ask
that
Geico about renters
this is not
insurance.
super
And number 2,
applicable to what
don't
we're
go on
talking about.
vacation
But
and leave your house key under the welcome mat.
They left your feather duster. You're gonna need it.
Go to geico.com to see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
How did I get a job? What if I was just a Joe Schro? What would I do to get a job? How would you give me a job, lady?
Well, the first thing we would need to do is some testing with you. So why don't we go do that?
You look like my friend Janny. Did you ever watch that Channel 5 News? You look like Janny's sister.
Okay. Well, we'll start doing some testing and we can talk further.
Okay.
You ready to do it?
Yeah, speak
Good.
up, Redders.
Good.
Check it out.
So the first thing we're going to do is pretty easy. So you're going to have 30 seconds to line these tiles, starting with number 1 all the way to number 9 in sequence. You ready? Go.
Go. I got it.
Okay, good.
Just relax. Here, 6, 6, 7, relax. You got 2 6s. It's a trick question.
Well,
What are you trying to do? Shanghai me?
well, now remember.
Oh, next test.
Okay. And
Are you ticklish?
no. Okay. So go ahead and
I am, if you wanted to tickle me.
I want you to go ahead and fill this out the best you can. So we're going to start with your last name and then your first name and your name.
My last name, like from my name from before, was Little Stevie. Now my grown-up name is Dr. Steve Brule.
Okay, so what you do is you put Dr. Brule. Put it down as best you can, okay?
What's the shape of the snake ladder look like?
You don't know what an S looks like?
S. Oh.
Okay. And then they want you to list areas of highest proficiency, your applicable position.
What's proficiency?
Okay, why don't we move on? This is a test to see if you can see differences.
This one's easy.
Uh-huh.
They're both humps. Check, please.
all right, so that's a little bit of a frame of at least what I think is compelling content that I would just consume when I'm not paying attention to work or at home. And something that I think with this conversation we're all trying to go for is something that people are just going to want to share, enjoy, be involved with, regardless of whether they're familiar with your brand or looking to buy something from you in the first place. So, and to give that a little bit of context, we have this project here at TGR that is kind of our a special piece of kind of brand content for us that we're nominated for Webby for right now. So this is a pretty cool moment for us, but we worked with this piece with Volcom Gore-Tex, and it was all about Brian Iguchi. So, as you're starting to scroll through these, okay, cool, here we go. So we got some cool, text. It's all kind of about who Brian is as a snowboarder, his whole history as a pro athlete. This is all Al Teodor's writing. There's some cool little graphical elements that Olas Lim, who's a local guy, worked on. And so you're getting this story about who Brian is. And even though Volcom is the presenting sponsor, you're rarely seeing their involvement in the piece. I mean, we got a logo here. Obviously, he's one of their marquee athletes, but you're just getting this really cool piece of content that you're going to enjoy, whether or not you really came into it with Volcom in mind. So obviously you see another logo here, and then the biggest piece of branding we did with this project was this, which was kind of this cool gear collage. And even though now we're actually highlighting 2 products from Volcom that they're really psyched on seeing sold and being promoted, you're getting it in this format where we have this cool image and we're seeing Brian pack for a trip, and we're seeing what kind of avalanche Snowside has, his goggles, his gloves, his shovel. This stuff isn't even Volcom products here, but we're still seeing it in the mix, Volcom mixed into this piece here. So you're getting this kind of organic piece where you're able to see all this cool layout, cool photo. Okay, I get a sense for what Brian packs on a trip, and Volcom is a part of that, that kind of branded content. So that's an example of ours that has been doing particularly well lately, but there's a lot of different options, and obviously now you see the Volcom logo in there as to how to do this. So at the base level, content marketing is creating and sharing useful content in order to establish a relationship with your audience. It's rarely promotional, and it seldom talks directly about a product or company. That last example was a little bit more of almost a caveat to that, and it's more concerned with providing something of value to customers and prospects, and that is huge part of this. So it's always going to be, audience first. So whenever you're going to create content, the tendency is going to be to say something that's really specific to your brand, or talk about your products, or talk about what it is that you want someone to buy, get involved, and sign up. But you really need to pay attention to what it is that person, that potential customer actually wants to hear, and that might even entail talking about a competitor. So if you're making I don't know, let's say you're selling tents, and you want to highlight your tent, but you might write a guide for your customers about, hey, here's how to pick a tent for mountaineering or car camping or whatever. You might have to mention a competitor within that to make it feel more organic, so that someone's going to be feel like it's a more authentic message. And then the goal is really to gain credibility with that customer. It's going to take a while, and then eventually you're going to want to entice them to buy, so that you're informing them or entertaining them or giving them a service that they will grow to respect you for, so they have some insight as to what your legal background is, what you know about DUIs in Teton County, so that they know that you're an expert or a great credible source for that particular thing. But they still want to entice them to do business with you beyond that piece of knowledge. And this isn't something you typically have to worry about very much. A lot of people want to hold something back. They feel like they're going to give up too much if I write a guide to DUIs in Teton County. Well, no one's going to hire, I'm worried that no one's going to want a lawyer after that. Well, that's certainly not the case, because it's bigger than what you think that person is going to need. So always, don't be afraid to give a lot away, or what feels like a lot away. And then realize that, a lot of what you're putting out is going to be consumed through something like this, a Facebook feed, a Twitter feed, or whatever, and there's just content everywhere. There's options all over this page to click, and everything is tailored to try to get you to make an action. So for you to stand out in this mix, you really have to do it well. And you can start out, you can do a crappy job to start, but you want to use the data you accumulate from doing what you think is an amateur startish job to understand what's working well and increase the amount of stuff you put out that actually does well. And I'll talk a bit about this later. And it's also, as I said again, it's a long tail game. You're trying to make an impression on someone in a relationship with them that's going to take months, and in our case, it took us 12 to 18 months to double our traffic, to double our unique users, to double our Facebook page. It was like a long time before we really, even though we had an educated guess of what to do, and we were making calculated decisions based off the data we were seeing in our content at TGR, it still took months and months and months for that to really build into a much bigger program than what we had before.
How many people do you guys have making those decisions? Just you or
3, probably. Next 3, and then we have like 2. We have a part-time editor for mountain biking and then one for snowboarding. But a lot of their decisions get kind of filtered up through us, because we're looking at about 2,000 pieces of content a year. So we're, those guys are probably putting out 1 or 2 things a week. We're looking at 20, 25. So we're just always getting a feel for like, hey, this title didn't work, this photo, wasn't the best. how do we use that information to make your next piece that much better? So yeah, and feel free to stop me at any time. So what kind of content do I need to create? And I think that starts with what you're offering people, whether you're offering someone legal service, or you're offering them coaching, or you're offering them web development services. You want to think about what that broadest category is, whether that's legal defense in Teton County, or web development, ski and snowboard coaching, and how can you create content that someone who is interested in that thing, not so much your specific product, but that broader category, what can you give them that's going to inform them or entertain them around that category? And then later I'll go on into which platform you want to use based off who your customer is. So, a lot of this is that if you haven't done it before, it can really seem daunting to start, a content program. I try to encourage people to think about what can you start to do tomorrow and do decently. Everyone here has something or has access to that other people want to see or learn about. And sometimes that you might not think that as much as is true. And then, the real focus is not to try to make something go viral. I have here this piece of content that I put up 2 years ago, and it was our record for page views at 1,700,000 page views, and I haven't gotten anything close to that ever since. Next closest was maybe 500,000, but my average page views are sitting closer to 6,700. So I'm trying to see how I can get this number a little bit higher every week versus trying to get another one of these. Because ultimately, that customer, you're going to need to have a repeat experience with them, and you want them to be part of this mix because they're the ones who are coming back, who are starting to rely with your brand or your products versus this person who's only coming in once. And then I just say keep it manageable enough to be consistent. You always want to be able to put stuff out on a pretty regular basis, and it shouldn't feel daunting. It should feel like something you can start snapping out once you get into it.
Was that something that you guys developed?
Oh yeah, so this is a big part of what we do from a traffic perspective is just grab videos that we think are going to do well. And this one I had spotted on another bike site. It's basically like a Razor side-by-side scooter they built like a custom mountain bike trail, and he's going 80 miles an hour, and it looks like he's riding a mountain bike with this car. It's crazy. Same video, Razor car goes mountain biking, and that just for whatever reason really tipped things off.
That wasn't your content, you found it
Right.
purposeful.
And you can do that too. That's definitely this is super cheap, really easy. It took me probably 10 minutes to make that post, and look at the payoff for that. So that's one way of doing it is, maybe Teton Science School, you're talking about the kind of natural wonders of the Tetons, and maybe you have some imagery and some information available to you, and maybe there's a lot of other great videos out there, and you can be a source for that, a collection point, so that someone who's like, oh, I'm really interested in the natural environment of the Tetons, Teton Science School is a great resource, whether they created the content or not. And that's, something that you can get a lot of mileage out of. Obviously, everyone, ourselves included, are trying to work towards creating our own content, especially as we increase our understanding of what our audience works and what our audience wants, because that requires less hoping that someone else makes this video and more us knowingly going out creating something people want to see. And use the data as dingus. So you can start a campaign with an educated guess about what do you think people want to see, and then this is just a Facebook analytics screenshot from yesterday. So we could see pretty easily. Tourist tries to pet a bison in Yellowstone. People really like that. This mountain biking video people weren't so interested in. Another train park video did okay. Tom Walsh doing the longest rail in recorded history did pretty well, and then tragically we reported on an avalanche death yesterday, That did really well. So for me, if I'm the content director, I'm seeing that people really want us to report about avalanche tragedies, and people really want some humorous kind of outdoor content. So the next week when I go to decide what to put my effort into, I'm probably going to focus more on these kind of higher engagement pieces. And obviously, avalanches, we never want to be reporting on them, but it's something that we've worked at TGR to do a more professional job of, because people want it, and there's a need to understand how these events happen, and we're trying to provide that service.
What does reach mean? Does that mean
Okay, so reach is basically everyone who saw that piece of content. So we have as I said before, 250,000 Facebook fans. So this is reaching, organic reach, paid reach. So this is reaching 130,000 people on Facebook. That's who are seeing this post. And then what you're seeing over here is how many people actually clicked on that, 9,000, which was pretty good. And then this accumulates all the reactions, comments, and shares. So that was about 1,500 actions that someone took. They shared it, commented, liked it, something like that. And then what we're really going for, and we've actually done a decent job about, is getting really good viral reach. So if we have posts like this, sometimes we have our audience of 250,000, but we'll see a post reach 10 to 20 to 30 times that group, because so many people are sharing it outside of our existing circle, that we're just grabbing people who don't ever see TGR content. So that's another goal, that you're always trying to get to that point where someone's sharing it beyond the circle of your existing audience, and then hopefully over time you can start to pull that person back, and you be someone who's looking at your stuff more regularly.
Do you guys stay engaged, like with the reaction comment part? Do you you just walk away and say, "Oh, cool, people are talking about it," or do you
it depends.
get in there to?
If there's like a factual error, we're pretty, fast with that. Because if someone said, "Hey, this wasn't, where that avalanche happened," or whatever, we are super responsive and very open about, not being correct all the time. That's part of a little bit of part of our editorial brand is just being open and honest and approachable. We have a really good rating in terms of responding to people on Facebook if they send a message and like, "Hey, watch my video," blah blah blah. We definitely part of what we're trying to achieve is just, whereas TGR has always been this megalithic film company, we're trying to make the website of it be this more inclusive, approachable thing. And for you guys, if people are, "Hey, what's that bird? What's their lifespan?" That's a great place to interact with someone, because I think there's so much content going out, and that takes a lot of time to reach out to someone, which is why we rarely do it, because mostly I'm just letting the comments feed just go. But if there's misconceptions, a lot of this stuff is, especially these bigger pieces, people just see the title, start saying blah 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 blah. They haven't even read the article or anything like that. And we definitely try to jump in and moderate those conversations if they're going to a non-productive place. At the same time, we're always trying to understand and anticipate how people are going to react. And so we're always paying attention to what people say and say, "Oh, well, that title was really clickbaity and misleading, so everyone thought that content was something different," and kind of replied that way. So this, interaction can be really valuable. It's definitely harder to do at scale, but I think it probably what most of you guys are looking at is definitely a valuable thing to be talking with people, especially if you're getting one student in the door, you're getting one person who wants coaching versus us. We just want clicks on the website. We're not needing a body to show up and make a big investment in some kind of program. So our relationship is slightly different. Just want to talk a little bit about content length. My bias is always towards shorter content, and I think what I mean with that is that, if you put a lot of effort into a big piece of content, can you break that up into smaller chunks and get, that much more? If you're getting, maybe 1,000 views out of your average blog post, what if you broke that up into 4 pieces and you got 4,000 views instead? People are going to be able to consume smaller chunks, which they typically like. And if you can reorient each piece of that content to have a great title that's still compelling on its own, then it's a good way to get mileage out of your efforts, since this is all a part of a much broader workload that you guys have. But really, more importantly than the length of the content is just really to get to the point. So you don't want to lose people. You either have, in my experience, 2 sentences or 15 seconds in a video to really pull someone in. So here's 2 pieces of branded content from the TGR side that I've worked on. So got a mountain bike guide to Park City that we did that was association with Park City lodging. So we're not going to really talk about the lodging in Park City, because who cares, other than where do I stay in town and why. Short little blurb at the bottom about where to stay. But I'm really trying to get people psyched on mountain biking in Park City. So this is all, speed's getting faster as I head down Park City's Spiro Trail. The red snake of the trail whips in wild arcs ahead, requiring exacting concentration despite the fact that water is now streaming out of the sides of my eye sockets. So I'm trying to put someone right there and grab them, get a good image here, get a good title, so someone's like, okay, Park City, Park City, Park City, and they have like a real visceral experience of what that riding there is going to be like, and are enticed, and eventually will want to book a lodging there. And then this is a Switzerland mountain bike series we just finished up, and unfortunately each of these videos, because we're working with partners who spent some money on this, they want to see their logo. So each of these had to have a long intro, relatively long intro that's highlighting, okay, here's Fly Switzerland's logo, here's BMC's logo, here's Switzerland Tourism's logo. Meanwhile, this is the same for all 3 videos. So if you've seen the first 2 and you get to this, you're gonna get 20 seconds in and be like, oh god, like I've already seen this. Like, what's hook me again? And really, that hook comes here.
And it was clear that it's probably the most stunning place that you could hope to see in Switzerland.
So ideally, this would have been the first shot, and someone's like, oh my god, the most beautiful place in Switzerland, I want to hear more. And then since they've already been hooked in the first couple seconds, they want to see the full piece versus seeing that same intro every time. So there's a lot of tendency, especially on the video side, when people have long logos and they say, whatever, Jacksonville Ski and Snowboard Club presents, have all the sponsors, and then you're kind of like sitting making them wait for the real, part that they really want to see, versus if you understand that those first 5 to 15 seconds are so crucial, you really want to put your punchline at the beginning and really, show that bald eagle shot like right away. So it's like, oh shit, that thing was dope. Like I want to handle that or whatever, like you want to really grab them right off the bat. And you'll see too, it's just all like you're going through a feed and you might click on this video on Facebook and you just see the Swiss logo and you're like, okay, whatever, like, and you just go on. Versus if you heard that person say, this is the most beautiful place in Switzerland, then you're like, whoa, where's that place? Let's see. Okay. On that note, a little bit of a piece about the importance of visuals. As you can see here, so this is my desktop Facebook feed, this is my mobile, like, just doing a quick glance, like, you can really tell that it's just the images standing out here. So this bike, video, all this stuff, you probably haven't even read what any of this says yet. So, especially on Facebook, which again drives a ton of our traffic, like, you even see more so in mobile, like, the image takes up a huge amount of space. So, really what you have to pitch someone to go to your website off the social feed is a photo, a title, and a caption. And this is what is going to determine 95% of the traffic to that given piece of content, at least in our experience. So having a really good image is important. This one I don't love. It's gear, it's cool, but for us it's much better to have action, someone jumping, someone doing something cool, with the caveat that especially on a mobile screen, like, obviously this is super blown up, but you have like such a small screen, and this mountain biker, you can barely see him here, but he's going to be like, a dot on a fingernail if that's on a mobile device. So a lot of what we're doing when we're taking our screenshots of videos or putting a photo on a piece is, okay, we got a mountain biker, how do we make sure that person fills most of the screen, so that if I'm looking at a mobile device, which is about half our traffic at this point, I actually know what's going on, and it's still enticing without being, mountain biker down here in a tiny.
How do you know they're on a mobile device?
Just analytics from our Google Analytics will say whether it's about. It probably started when I was there. It started at 30%, and 3 years later, it's probably like 55.
That's what we see. We
Yeah.
see 50 to 60% roll.
Yeah. It's so this is really important, and then what's going to really double up on that is the importance of titles. Because again, what's the second thing you're going to see after the image is going to be this title. So every single piece of content, if you're in our editorial room, we're saying, hey, wouldn't it be good if we did something about this? And then the next thing we think about is what's that title. So we're always building backwards from the title. Here's two different pieces. One, you see Thomas Razapelek, El Nino 1516. Like, I don't know who this guy is. El Nino is a weather event. I just want to watch skiing. 1516, I don't really care what year it is. Like, just want to watch something cool. So you've lost a lot of people, as you can see here at 3 shares. With all we have is, it's a cool image, but it's like, there's no sell here. It's just some guy's name. And so we've, even on the pro level, talking about professional athletes, we've moved away from really using a lot of names because we want to make sure that this video is marketed not just to the people who like Thomas Razapelek, but anyone who wants to see a cool ski video. So we're always thinking about how we can broaden the reach of these pieces. And a lot of what I'm talking about, you guys are going to be doing content marketing. A lot of what my experience is marketing content that's kind of given to us. So on the flip side, now we got video shows 100-year evolution of ski clothing. You get this sweet image of like old 1940s ski clothes, and great title, short, fits on one line. Video, 100-year evolution, ski clothing. You know immediately what you're going to get into, and it's like a good pitch. It's real clear, simple, and again, 187 shares versus 3 on that one. And then obviously, captions is your other space. We try to keep these short too. And if what you can do is you can write a title that's shorter and know that you're going to have another space to write a caption that's going to provide just a little bit more context. So in this case, it's our grandparents had some serious style out there in the slump. So just like a little bit more of a sell in terms of, it's a throwback piece. And also great, keywords again here. That guy, El Nino, whatever. We don't know that guy so much, but we got video, 100-year evolution, ski clothing, like all great, really clear keywords for someone to kind of latch onto. And if someone's looking for it later down the road, they're going to find, a ski edit much more when ski is in the title than if Thomas Razapelek is in that title. So, and how we decide a lot of these titles is, we bat around a lot of titles with coworkers, so we've been trying to do that more versus just thinking of the first thing that comes to mind, saying, hey, what do you think about this? We're always trying to move the really most enticing part of the sentence to the front, so that when someone's reading it, especially look on email, especially like you have such a little space, like 55 characters, so the best 2 lines of 2, words of that sentence better be right at the beginning. So we're always, a lot of the time, we'll write a title, flip it so that, maybe this goes up here, and then, probably more people are interested in ski clothing than video, so we're going to throw ski clothing up front. And then this program here is called Co-Schedule Headline Analyzer. This is a pretty cool program that's free to use, that we use quite a bit, where you can just paste in a headline and it'll give you some kind of basic grade and say too many words, not enough power words, not enough diversity of words, and give you kind of a grade. It's not like, this is a little bit more of an art than a science, but it's a good kind of gut check, especially for like title length and stuff like that. So that's a good program to look up to use for really whatever kind of title you're going to be making. So this is another, I actually really like this series. I think it's super cool. Yeti coolers. So again, this is going to feature their product, but it's more about like the entertainment surrounding what they're doing with this thing. again, even this is probably a little too long. Like, I would just probably cut this out and get straight to the guys, start beating this thing up. So this would probably be my first frame in the video if I was, making it. They got like the bear beats it up, they slingshot it, they have all these other ones. Obviously, it didn't have drinks in it the whole time, but you kind of get the idea. So, cool, fun piece of content. You don't have to want a cooler to enjoy it, so you're going to get a broader reach. Yeti's part of the story, but it's not like, hey, look at the straps, look at this, look at this. It's just like, this guy's just destroying this thing, and it's fun to watch. So, like, I just thought that was kind of a cool project that those guys have been doing. So I'm using Alex's white paper here as another example for basically evergreen versus current content. So when I'm talking about evergreen, I'm talking about content that's relevant for a long time. So Mountain Bike Guide to Park City, that is going to be relevant for multiple years until all the trails are totally different and the city is in, I don't know, whatever, underwater or something like that. Like, that will be relevant for a long time. And it's generally a little bit more work, those pieces. So you're looking at, like Alex did, this is an awesome, really cool piece on his site where it's 7 things to do if you've ever been arrested for DUI in the Teton. So again, listicle, great technique. People love lists. It's like simplify things. They think, okay, it's only 7 steps. Like, obviously, it's not all you need to do, but like it gives people a little bit of clarity and incentive to check this out. Great keywords: arrested, DUI, Tetons. So obviously, I assume this was like a pretty big investment of your time to like create this, and that hopefully will give you leads over time. And you can have this out on your website for a long time and get value out of it because you're going to get that SEO value. People are going to be looking for this when they go to DUI and Tetons. They're going to be Googling that versus just flipping through a social feed and just looking for something interesting they're not really sure. But to supplement this in order to have consistent pieces so that you're not only have this, but you're building on your reputation as someone who's an expert on DUIs and the Tetons, like you can look for shorter, really easy, timely pieces surrounding DUIs in Jackson. I don't know, maybe law changes or something like that. You can put your perspective on that. Maybe 4th of July weekend's coming up and you can say, here's where the bus stops are, here's how to get around town without getting in trouble, so that people kind of see that you're a reference. You're like the guy when it comes to this, but you just keep this here and you're having these things always pop up. Someone's always seeing fresh content from you, and then this is hopefully a much smaller lift than this was, because it's unrealistic to make something at that scale all the time. So any questions about that kind of difference in content types? Okay, cool. And then a note on social channels. So there's obviously a lot out there right now. For us, the big one is Facebook right now. I'm not necessarily psyched on the fact that it's driving 70% of our traffic right now. I'd like that to diversify because we have no control over what this platform looks like. If they knock images out of Facebook tomorrow, I don't know why they would. Let's say they stopped allowing images, we would be down the tubes because our content is so visual. Skiing, snowboarding, these sports are such a visual thing. Wilderness, outdoor, this natural content is so visually driven that you can really play on that. You can be on Instagram, you can be on Facebook, where there's these bigger opportunities to have a big visual sell to people. Obviously, Facebook is going to actually drive a lot more traffic than Instagram, and I would say in general, resist the temptation to want to have a really cool Instagram unless it's something that's really speaks to your brand, and your brand is something that's very going to be visual, has a lot of really cool things to look at. Because this takes some work like everything else, but it is, even at our scale of, I don't know, we have 170 something thousand fans, we barely drive any traffic on having that many people on our Instagram platform, versus having Facebook where it's built to have people click through.
Is that just because it's not clickable?
Yeah, like it's designed to be this inclusive mobile platform, so it's designed to just, the focus is entirely on the experience of just looking at this picture or looking at that video, versus Facebook has so many options. Like, we can put up a video you can watch right there, we can make you click to our site, we can make you try to buy a hat, we can sell a tour stop. Like, there's just way more options, and it's less centered on just this strict kind of visual experience. Obviously this is great for branding, and obviously for photographer you want to be on there. But that's a platform that it's harder to get web traffic sales out of, because it's disconnected from really clicking through your site. So Facebook, great, kind of really covers a lot of bases. Twitter, we're pretty terrible at, and maybe drive 5 or 10% of our traffic, because it's really much more of a news-centric platform. So, I don't see really a lot of brands running interesting campaigns on Twitter so much, although they'll share all their other stuff they're doing. But it's really designed and caters to breaking news, things that are happening really quickly in quick conversations. So when we do things that do well for us on here, typically something like an avalanche story, like a new piece of gear, something that's more of a news item, but we don't put a huge emphasis on this. And then, email is something that is still incredibly valuable for us, and especially if it maybe not apply to people so much in this room, but if you had an older demographic, say your demo was more like 50 and older, like, they're not going to be really over here on Facebook and Instagram like they're going to be responsive to something on email. So we use this a lot. It's big for us. We get all our contests done through here. A lot of our calls to action to actually go buy something, buy a tour stop ticket, buy clothes, goes through the email. That's just where it seems to work. But think about your demographic. Who they are, how old they are, where they're looking at content, and what your company or brand can offer that's really going to play to one of these platforms. And maybe if you're a legal guy, maybe it's better that you send a newsletter that looks more written out, that people are going to see, be able to read that in their inbox about some legal development in Wyoming or something like that. But still, always have an image. Never don't have the image.
I have a question about replicating content across platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen any analytics of, obviously some content will do better on different platforms, but do you simultaneously post content across platforms?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a priority thing. Like, priority number one is to get on Facebook, because that's what just drives the bulk of our traffic. So priority number two is almost newsletter, I would say, because that drives another, whatever, we have 150,000, I think, subscribers here, so that's another big base of people. Maybe aren't necessarily all on Facebook. We're going to get something from us. I would say for us, Twitter, just because it hasn't naturally worked that much, we'll kind of wait, especially our content marketing manager just left last week, so I'm just going in once a day and just scheduling posts kind of regardless, versus if I get breaking news
and are you just replicating work that you've already done on Facebook or Instagram and just putting it there and not putting an additional effort towards content that would be new?
I would say what I'm doing mostly that's original is since you only have you don't have a title and a caption. I'm trying to combine, you know, the title and the caption in a 140 character line. But yeah, we just don't put a lot of effort into it. It just hasn't been that productive for us. So it's kind of the stepchild of our social platforms. And then Instagram really isn't the news sharing platform for us. So we don't, you know, like yesterday I made it was a little bit different. Like when that avalanche happened, I put up kind of a gram with the girl's picture and it was a little bit of a memorial post about her on her Instagram because it seemed appropriate, but I'm not sharing every piece of content on Instagram that we have on Facebook.
Right.
This is more like what we're lucky at DGR that we just have a shitload of images, people skiing, people snowboarding, cool places. So that's what our plan is with Instagram. It's just cool images. It's built into a lot of our campaigns with brands now. So we might have a specific athlete that shows up in that post, or we might, hey, we got to make sure we have Atomic Skis, you know, tagged 3 times with an athlete.
You got 5.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much.
I have a quick question. What percentage of your traffic flows through your homepage versus social networks?
10%. 8.
Okay.
Or less.
Is that mostly organic, or is that?
Yeah, it's like the few people who are like actually going on TetonGravity.com and seeing what's new.
Okay. That seems significant still, actually.
Yeah, we don't promote it that much. I mean, it's like if you just put TetonGravity.com on Facebook, you know, no one's what's interesting about that to people. It's all these specific things that are interesting to people.
You're not trying to drive people back to the website necessarily.
Oh, we are, but it's more to just like one piece of content. So, you know, that's what's compelling to people. It's not so much that TGR is who TGR is. It's more that TGR offers this thing on 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. This really cool video, this article about mountain bikes, this gear review, this you know, news story about technology, and so we more and more are kind of considering our what we call our detail pages, or where our content actually lives, like a blog post basically, as really like the door for the website, because so few people are actually going to the homepage. And so for me, if someone's, you know, we get requests like, hey, can we change the header of the website to this, or can we have this image on the homepage? And I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't affect at all how our traffic performs or how many people are going to see X, Y, or Z. It's really about how good our sale is on social and what that experience is like once they get to that post page. And is there another place they can click, or is there an obvious call to action about, hey, really interested in, you know, the nature of the Tetons? Sign up for our summer program or something like that. And just trying to get someone in that door and then make another action. And for us, it's a little simpler. It's just click somewhere else so we get on the page view. But for you guys, it's a little more complicated. You're trying to edge them towards, you know, actually buying a more substantial service or product. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Actually, yeah. So when you guys are reposting other content, do you have a mark that, you know, if this has been up for so long or it's already had so many views, you won't repost it?
I would say I'm glad you asked that, because we definitely repost the evergreen stuff. So like, if we put all that effort in that Mountain Bike Park City eye, we're definitely going to repost that every spring. Be like, hey, Mountain Bike Park City is pretty rad, because we put a lot of effort into that post, and it's still relevant, so we're going to keep sharing that. And we do that with the kind of sarcastic caricatures we have, because they're totally non-specific to a period in time, or you know, we'll do you know, maybe an interview with someone that's kind of interesting. So, you know, generally we're pretty flooded with content, so we don't feel a need to do that so much. But what we did last year that actually helped is almost every day for a couple months we just reposted something popular from 3 months before at 7 p.m. that night, and just did it, you know, spent an hour doing it, set it up for like 3 weeks, and then just let that run, and that was like free traffic for, you know, that extended period of time. So you know, if you're doing your DUI guide, definitely, you know, repost that through your whatever channel you have that you're using, and Facebook ads are pretty great for an effective place to kind of boost how many people are seeing those, because you can really dive down and say, hey, I want, you know, I've already reached everyone in my fan group, but I want to get friends of those people. That's a lot of our merchandise campaign, is like Tana would market promoted posts about merchandise just to the people who are friends of fans of TGR. And that was super effective, because they're saying, oh, my friend, you know, Dan likes TGR, that's cool, I'll buy that, you know, so there's a little bit of confirmation of like, that product's good, my friend likes it, and I'm being encouraged to buy it, so.
So what about like that Razor video? So if that video had already been up for a day,
yeah,
or you know, like, is there a certain amount of time or a certain amount of use on something that you would reshare from another, like another?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll do that.
Are you trying to be like one of the first people to get it out?
Yeah, totally. Because that, you know, the third person who shared that video probably got 40,000 pictures. But since we were the second and probably biggest site to share it, all of a sudden, as that's going viral, we're the reference point for that video. So even their YouTube video, where it originally was posted, is going to rank lower on a search result than our page, because that's where everybody's going to. So for us, it's like, you know, at least once a day, I'll have to just drop everything and just like write about something and get it up in 5 minutes, because whatever XYZ happened. And that's always hard, because it's a little bit not a problem you have to deal with if you're not running a media business, but you know, for us, it's just part of the game. It's, you know, if it's a cool ski video or something, if we're the first, second, third person to share that, we're going to get exponentially more value out of that than if we're the 7th, 8th, 9th person to share it. Because all these social things just peak crazy. So again, that kind of average page view is probably more what you want to pay attention to, and kind of something we work on is how do we make sure the videos we do pick are better the first time than always, you know, just trying to refer to the one that worked out once. So any other questions?
We should repost that post up in
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so like yesterday, we posted a video about a Yellowstone tourist going to pet bison on the opening day of the park, and we had a caricature we drew last year that was like, you know, Yellowstone gapers, and it was like, you know, people getting thrown off the back of the moose, and you know, tour bus groups with selfies, and it's like a funny, lighthearted cartoon almost, and so we can post that every summer. But like Andrew said, now I'll probably go back and set that up for tonight, and so that because it's relevant to what happened in a more timely fashion yesterday. So, yeah.
We can take it around the snacks, and I'll clean up in here. Is that okay?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming and for your attention. And
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Totally.
Thank you.